Want to keep little hands busy at home? The Home Depot has free kids workshop kits with everything you need to get started. Pick up a new one in store starting the first Saturday of every month. Then head to homedepot.com/kids for a project guide that's easy to follow along with, plus loads of other kid-friendly content. Kids can't wait to get their hands on them. Find out more at homedepot.com/kids. Free kids workshop kits, only from the Home Depot. How doers get more done. While supplies last, U.S. only.
You are looking live, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's 8 a.m. in Costa Rica, home of many of the world's top offshore sports books, all of them thoroughly vetted on offshoreinsiders.com. Welcome to the tailgate party from offshoreinsiders.com, where we will give you fantasy football and sports betting information on each and every NFL game for today.
Every gambler knows that the secret to surviving.
I don't want to take advice from fools.
You always won every time you placed a bet.
That's what I want.
Alrighty, folks, let's get straight to it. All the information you need for today, the Titans and the Dolphins. And make sure you say hi, regardless of what platform you're watching in, and especially if you're watching from overseas. I'd really love for you to check in and tell us where you are watching from. Dolphins wide receiver Devontae Parker is doubtful as we take a look at the Titans and the Dolphins. And that's important. He had 57 receptions last year. Marquise Gray, very good blocking tight end, is also out for Miami. Titans wide receiver Rashard Matthews likely will be on a rep count or a pitch count, as some people like to say it half jokingly. He will play, though, 53 receptions, 795 yards, and 4 touchdowns last year. The Dolphins 42-18 straight up in the month of September at home. And again, that's important. I know I've told this story once or twice before, but goes back to an interview I heard with Dan Marino about 15 years ago, and we wound up kind of tracking what he said. Well, we definitely wound up tracking what he said, but from a handicapping standpoint, and it is much tougher for a cold weather team to go to a hot weather city than vice versa. Not that the Titans would be a cold weather team per se, but Miami definitely has a big home field advantage early on in the year. Now, Ryan Tannehill, he is healthy. Those of you who have been clients of mine for offshoreinsiders.com for years know that I'm not really a big Ryan Tannehill fan. But when he and head coach Adam Gase, their only season together in 2016, Dolphins did go 6-1 straight up in Tannehill's home starts and average 27 points per game. So, again, I'm not really a big fan of Tannehill, but he and Adam Gase have done pretty well together. Meanwhile, for Tennessee, Marcus Mariota has a 69.1 quarterback rating on the road with 11 interceptions and just 5 touchdown passes. So if you're into splits, the Marcus Mariota splits are not very good, to say the least. The Titans are, the Dolphins average 11.7 more points per game at home than on the road. So again, back to splits. And you could probably argue that because they are kind of an extreme weather team when they're playing in New England, if they're playing it, late in the year. And offhand, I don't have the schedule memorized. I don't really remember what the weather was like when they played, at the Jets or at New England. But you can see it gets back to those big weather dichotomies, hot weather team and cold weather cities, and you can see why the Dolphins might have a little bit more of home road splits than most teams. Titans 9-21 against the spread on the road in their last 30. The total has gone over in 8 of the Dolphins' last 11 games, and the average combined score 48.09. The total has gone under 11 of the Titans' last 13 games on the road in this series. The Redskins and the Cardinals, by the way, make sure you get my picks. 18-6 in the NFL. You got a wise guy play among 4 NFL winners. Redskins and the Cardinals, of course, the Skins starting running back Darius Geis is out for the year. Free agent Adrian Peterson gets the starts, and yeah, it's been very positive as far as what has been said about Adrian Peterson. He's actually looked pretty good. The visiting team has dropped the last 6 in a row in this series. Now, the total's gone under 14 of the Cardinals' last 20 at home. Washington, keep in mind, they had a lot of preseason injuries, but they actually come into this game healthy. So they've overcome more than their share of injuries. And, good morning to Marcus Woods. I know he's checked in quite often. He's watching us on YouTube. We are on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook Live, plus I think it's rk.ru or was it ok.ru, and we're being seen all over the world. So we're very happy about that. And if you're watching this outside of North America, especially be interested in that. And if you like this information, please comment, even if you're watching on demand, which most of our viewers, it turns out, are on demand. But please comment, share this information. We'll do it for you in college football as well, if there's enough interest. Cowboys and the Panthers. Panthers wide receiver Curtis Samuel is out. Last year's second-round pick had 15 catches before his season-ending injury in Game 10 last year. Carolina, by the way, is definitely a large public bet. At the end of this report, I'm going to tell you the sharps, where the sharps are going, where the squares are going, and the biggest line moves for today, although they're all the line moves are really a result of injury information. Dallas ranked third in net yards per play on the road last season. Carolina ranked 30th in net yards per play at home. So, again, those statistics would say, based on last year, maybe there won't be a big home-road dichotomy. The total's gone over 6 of the Panthers' last 8 games. The average combined score in those games, 52.5. Both teams are definitely banged up on the offensive line. So a lot of people would say from a total standpoint, both of these teams are going to be conservative. Panthers' top target, Greg Olsen, has been upgraded to probable. As of yesterday, I saw he was questionable. It looks like he is going to play, to say the least. That is no small injury information. 80 catches the last 2 years, 639 career receptions. The Seahawks and the Broncos, and by the way, remember, we have the top vetted sportsbooks at offshoreinsiders.com, including mybookie.ag, promo code Duffy, DUFFY, and you will get the biggest sign-up bonus allowed. We will not recommend a sportsbook that does not pay you on time. Seattle and the Broncos. Seattle safety Earl Thomas returned for them, but they did lose cornerback Dante Johnson. Remember, this is a defense in transition. Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, no longer on the team. Of course, Chancellor has required. And, yes, Jamarian Green does mention. We're going to have a free pick, by the way, on this report. He does mention yesterday we had a free pick on Boise State right here, and our premium picks are even better over the long term. Can't say I went 100% yesterday like we did on the free picks, but, yeah, Boise State, got to admit, by the time I went to bed, that game was early, so I woke up this morning and did see that they did cover one by a very wide margin, as we thought they would. Now, the Broncos, it's been thought that the Broncos have one of the biggest home field advantages because of the very high altitude there. They're 40-12 straight up their last 52 at home. There's also a thinking that because Denver trains in that high altitude, that's a reason they've had very good starts. They're closer to being in game shape than most teams, and they are 8-1 straight up, 7-1-1 against the spread in the month of September. And then that's not just home, that's on the home and on the road. But again, the theory being that because they train in Denver, even on the road, they'd be in better game shape, but especially more so at home. Seattle did allow the second fewest points on the road last season at 17.2. Denver, by the way, and again, this gets back to what we just talked about Denver. They start out early because they're probably in better shape because of training in the very high altitude. Remember our Olympians train in that high altitude of Denver, regardless of where the Olympics are. Colorado Springs, I guess it actually is. But Denver, all-time number one team in week 1 of NFL teams, 38-19-1. Divisional games in which the win is in single digits and the total is 44 or lower has gone over 615, 499, and 21. Quarterback Russell Wilson, 14-5-1 as underdogs, though covering by 6.8 points per game. We are going to have a free pick here. Seattle over. Seattle over is a free pick. And keep in mind, that statistic about the wind. As we've said, the number one thing that we really look for when it comes to totals, at least when it comes to weather, is wind. Precipitation, if it's light precipitation and you're going to have winds in the single digits, that's not significant. But once the winds get up there, that's where really it does become very, very important. And again, we do have a wind stat. There's not going to be all that much wind and a low total. Our free pick is to go with the over. The Steelers and the Browns. The Steelers star running back Le'Veon Bell is, of course, out. Everybody was wondering, is he going to make a dramatic return yesterday? He has been a holdout. 1,291 yards rushing last year. That inspirational kid, the kid Connor, will be starting. So James Conner, there we go. Had some allergies, and I was wondering if I'd be able to get through the entire broadcast without coughing or sneezing. Well, we'll take a cough over a sneeze. But Le'Veon Bell is out, but James Conner, very inspirational story, which man doesn't really have much of a handicapping angle, but would love, how can you root against him? But he is going to be getting the start. Browns, NFL's biggest upgrade at quarterback with Tyrod Taylor making the start. Now, potential star Josh Gordon is going to be on a pitch count, but then again, we've seen other reports where they really plan on using him a lot today. Josh Gordon, we know he's had his share of personal problems and missed a lot of camp time also for hamstring injuries. But if Josh Gordon, this guy's healthy, he can be, well, if he's mentally healthy and healthy in every fashion, he can be a major weapon. The Browns did average a league low 12.3 points per game at home last season, but again, they clearly have some upgrade. They're 0-17 straight up in their last 17 games, and the average losing margin 10.53. Of course, they're Hugh Jackson's 1-33 straight up. The total has gone under 11 of 13 Brown games at home. Winds, though, expected at 18 miles per hour and light rain. Now, you might say a more veteran team like Pittsburgh, that would benefit them. Ben Roethlisberger certainly played in the elements before. And, when the total is 50 or less and the wind speed is 10 miles per hour or higher, games have gone under at a 403, 324, and 8 rate. And again, that does, it gets back to what I said. High winds are good for the under. Lower winds are good for the over, and especially when you match them up with high and low totals. So the single most important thing to look at for weather is winds when it comes to totals. 49ers and the Vikings. The Vikings running back Dalvin Cook is back to normal, but he had only two preseason carries since a season-ending injury. So he's not going to be 100%. I think he might be just a little bit rusty. Keep that in mind. Latavius Murray and Mike Boone will probably get some extra carries. Jimmy Garoppolo's teams are averaging 28.3 points per game with him as a starter. He, of course, is the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. And again, it's very clear he's given a lift to this team. He faces, though, the number one scoring defense from last year. San Fran will be without their starting linebacker, Reuben Foster, because of injury. Vikings cornerback Xavier Rhodes, he is likely going to play. Upgraded to probable. He was questionable earlier on in the week. Vikings allowed 13.8 points per game at home last year, which was the second best in the NFL. By the way, the 49ers 5-0 straight up, 4-1 against the spread with Garoppolo last season, averaging 28.8 points per game. Let's see. Mike Zimmer, head coach Mike Zimmer, is the top covering coach in the NFL. 43-21, including 23-9 at home. And, of course, this is one of the big stories that Kirk Cousins makes his debut, but he's 0-3 with a 71.7 rating and 2 touchdowns to 5 interceptions in Week 1. Only Josh McCown is worse statistically in Week 1, and that's with a minimum of 100 attempts. And I'm not a Kirk Cousins fan. I'm not really as convinced as, I'm a little bit of the contrarian. I think it was a fairly lateral move with him and Case Keenum, but we'll see. I think Cousins will be, Cousins is a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. I'm not going to say bust, but I think he'll be a disappointment. That's probably a better word. Disappointment he will be. Bengals and the Colts, Andrew Luck making his first regular season appearance since 2016. Colts running back Marlon Mack is questionable. In fact, he is expected to be a game-time decision. And, he's a pretty key player. 93 carries for 358 yards last year, plus 225 yards receiving, and a touchdown. Bengals star linebacker Vontaze Burfict, he is questionable. Andy Dalton's quarterback rating was 19 points higher in road games last season compared with home games. By the way, yeah, I'll say it. This is one of our premium picks. At offshoreinsiders.com, one of our 4 premium pick winners, and you can get it right now, Joe Duffy's Picks, at offshoreinsiders.com. Nobody's dominated any single sport the way I have the NFL. The total's going under the Bengals' last 5 games on the road in this series. And let's see, I'm either not a Cousins fan or he is inconsistent. Yes, I would agree with that. The Buccaneers and the Saints, of course, Tampa Bay starting quarterback Jameis Winston suspended. Journeyman Ryan Fitzpatrick will be getting the start here. The Saints have been a pretty big public bet. Quarterback Drew Brees, 48 career passing touchdowns at Tampa, most against any opponent. New Orleans averaged the most points per game at home last season at 30.2, and the Bucs allowed the most points per game on the road last season at 29.2. And again, you might even be able to argue that Tampa Bay is going to be another one of those teams that will have that home-road dichotomy because of the extreme difference in the weather there. And statistically, well, they did. Saints have won 8 straight at home by an average of 10.25 points per game. 2 games against the Bucs last season, Alvin Kamara had 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. Let's see. What are some of the Saints are, by the way, the biggest favorite in week 1, but the biggest favorites in opening week are 12-22 against the spread. All week underdogs, all week 1 underdogs of 8 or more, very solid, 38-19 since 1995. And by the way, the starting quarterback for the Bucs today, Ryan Fitzpatrick, the worst underdog at 28-41. Chiefs and the Chargers, Stevie Vincent, by the way, 15-4 in football at offshoreinsiders.com. The Chiefs are aging. Future Hall of Famer Antonio Gates is probable, off a career low, though, 316 yards. Hunter Henry, who had 45 catches for 579 yards last year, is out. At this point in his career, he is the better tight end. Look, Antonio Gates, best tight end I've ever seen, but he's clearly, on his way down. Kansas City quarterback Patrick Mahomes makes his second career start. He is the first quarterback since 2008 with 5 or less starts, taking over for an offense that was top 5 the previous season. This is a tough spot for Mahomes. Chiefs are 8-0, though, in the series, winning by an average of 12.38 per game. In 2 games against Kansas City last year, Phillip Rivers had an interception, had 6 interceptions, 1 touchdown, 42.9 quarterback rating. Look, I've never been a Phillip Rivers fan. You should probably know that. And he just manages to find a way to take victory from the jaws of defeat. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid, 30-19 against the spread with more than a week to compare. And, to talk a little further about that Chargers statistic that we had, the Chargers quarterback Phillip Rivers is 0-8 to Chiefs defense coordinator Bob Sutton with 13 interceptions and 6 touchdowns. And again, we're taking a look at some of the odds at mybookie.ag. And again, you can use the promo code of Duffy, D-U-F-F-Y, and you will get the biggest sign-up bonus that is available. 50% sign-up bonus. Deposit $1,000. You'll have $1,500 to bet with today. MyBookie.ag. Please go to offshoreinsiders.com for all the thoroughly vetted sports books. Texans and the Patriots. I am a big Deshaun Watson fan. Look, he's coming off an injury, and I've said the landscape has a lot of quarterbacks who had tremendous rookie years and then didn't follow up with great sophomore seasons, but I'm all in with Deshaun Watson. He returns a quarterback. With him, they averaged 35.7 points per game last year. Without him, 13 points per game. At home last season, including the playoffs, Tom Brady threw 23 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. We got so many angles on this. Look, when the line moves against Tom Brady, the Patriots are 58-36 against the spread. Patriots star wide receiver Julian Edelman is suspended, 425 career catches. Jaguars and the Giants. Odell Beckham is back, and I do see we have quite a few live viewers on our different platforms. So, say hi to us. Say hi to us. I know I appreciate the 2 gentlemen saying hi today, but let us know where you are watching from, and we appreciate you watching. We do see we got a nice viewership on the 3 major platforms, plus a couple of the international ones as well. Jaguars and the Giants. Odell Beckham Jr. is back. Peyton Manning averages more than 50 more yards passing per game with him in the lineup, and I do agree with Jamarian Green. Mahomes, this is a tough spot for him. Look, if there's one thing that you can't say bad about Andy Reid, look, the guy definitely knows his quarterbacks. That was a ballsy move. Alex Smith has had a very solid career. Talk about someone who gets no respect. He and Case Keenum may top the no respect card at quarterback. Quarterback is the most important position, but it is also the toughest position to know whether or not you've got a guy who's for real. Mahomes, look, as expected, he showed some inconsistency last year. Even if you believe he is the quarterback of the future, this is a tough spot for him, to say the least, starting against a tough divisional rival. Totals going under 9 of the Giants' last 12 games. The first time Jacksonville, by the way, is a road favorite since 2008. Jacksonville's offensive line is rebuilt. Many believe the Giants' secondary matches up well, though, against the wideouts. All right, let's see. Hopefully I am not going to sneeze here. Well, there we go. Sorry about that, folks. Had a hunch that, with the way my allergies have been, this was going to be a challenging report. But, all right. The Bills and the Ravens. The Ravens are among the biggest public bets. We're going to have all the biggest public bets. A very big under consensus as well. And, all right, yes, Jamarian says he is from Houston. I've been to Houston. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law used to live there. So, yeah, that's a very cool city. They do not live there anymore, but been there. Wanted to make it to that Satchel's barbecue while I was there. But they moved. So, but maybe we'll make a special trip. Ravens are 7-3 in week 1. John Harbaugh takes the preseason much more seriously than most coaches, and the belief is that's going to pay off in week 1. It's funny with the Steelers. Steelers, like the Falcons, don't take the preseason quite as seriously as some of the other teams, and it's quite possible that will help them in the long term, but hurt them in the short term. But Harbaugh is a guy who does take preseasons pretty seriously, and he's done well in week 1. Nathan Peterman threw 5 interceptions a game last season, was heavily, ridiculed, but of course, he is the starter. I don't know, the Bills quarterback situation, that's pretty pathetic to say the least. Winds 14 miles per hour, light rain. Bears and the Packers, the Sunday night game. Bears were 0-3 straight up in divisional road games last year, losing by an average of 14.6 points per game. Aaron Rodgers, 27-17-1 in primetime regular season games. A leg bet, now by the way, that's ATS. A leg best 35-18 to the division against the spread. 41-18, this guy is at home. Mitchell Trubisky, the big story. Look, the Bears defense, a lot of the top experts do say that the Bears have one of the best defenses in the NFL. Maybe, are they going to have an upside? Well, Mitchell Trubisky, who last year was a bust, but, we saw it with Jared Goff. Jared Goff really struggled in his rookie season, came back with a great sophomore year. Everyone's saying, well, Mitchell Trubisky will be the new Jared Goff. We'll see about that. The Bears have dropped 9 straight to divisional opponents, losing by an average of double digits. A very underrated running back, Aaron Jones, is suspended for the Green Bay Packers. And, that is no small injury. I can promise you that, indeed. Now, let's take a look at some of these MyBookie odds. And as we take a look at the MyBookie odds, keep in mind some of the biggest line moves. And, this is live, so the lines could have changed. There are some lines that definitely would have changed, to say the least, since we compiled our notes. But the biggest line moves, Pittsburgh was minus 6.5, now minus 3.5. That's obviously because of Le'Veon Bell not showing up for this game. He's a holdout. New Orleans, as I'm looking, let's see. Mac Beasley. What do you think about Seattle versus Denver? Well, thank you, man, Beasley. We did actually talk about that game. And you can watch this on demand. We go over each and every single solitary game. We even talked about how Denver is understandably one of the bigger advantages, and that an even bigger advantage earlier in the year, and we gave you some very specific reasons. So, yeah, anybody out there who does have questions about any specific game, and we've had a lot of people check in from YouTube. If you're watching on Periscope, say hi. And I know on Facebook, something about the comments, I think you actually have to give us permission to share your comments. But if you're watching on Facebook Live, say hi. If you're watching on Periscope, say hi. And especially if you're watching on OK.ru or the VM, I can't even remember all the sites that we're on, but especially if you're watching from some of those sites overseas or outside North America, please say hi. New Orleans went from a 7-point favorite to a 10-point favorite. Arizona from a pick to -2. The biggest public plays are New Orleans, Cincinnati, and Baltimore. The biggest sharp moves, where the sharp money is, Chicago, Miami, and Baltimore. They can be overlapping, they can be conflicting, or there can be no overlapping. Joe Duffy's picks 18-6 in the NFL, 4 winners, led by a wise guy play. Look, if you bet on your own, and we give you a lot of information on this report for people who do bet on your own, make sure you use the thoroughly vetted sports books as well. Thoroughly vetted all the sports books that we have at offshoreinsiders.com, and that includes mybookie.ag, in which you can use the promo code Duffy, D-U-F-F-Y. You'll get the largest sign-up bonus that they give, 50%. Deposit $1,000, you got $1,500 to bet with. Today, you can bet today. There is no catch. And Man Beasley, yes, our favorite pick, in fact, is at Offshore. Thank you for the time. Our favorite pick is right now at offshoreinsiders.com. I am going to do a broadcast tomorrow. Like I said, Sunday is the one that was etched in stone as far as doing it live, regularly scheduled. Probably about 1 o'clock, I will preview the Monday night football games right here. And visit us at offshoreinsiders.com for thoroughly vetted sports books and the strongest plays in the world.
Call 1-888-FARMERS to switch, and you could save an average of $470 on your auto insurance. That's a lot of money in just a few minutes. With savings like that, you could be lounging on an impractical amount of ornate and overpriced throw pillows you bought for your couch. But you won't, because you're better with money than that. That's why you're calling us in the first place. Call 1-888-FARMERS to get a quote today.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Based on average nationwide annual savings survey data July to December 2020. Underwritten by Farmers Trucker Fire Insurance Exchanges or affiliate. Products not available in every state.